warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, Puan. Good morning, everyone. So we are back with our second MIASATalks, inshallah, that will be discussing about mental health in general, how to take care of mental health, and also some discussion that also still relates to what is currently happening in the world today. Right?
Yes, definitely. So Alhamdulillah, today once again we will be supporting all of you, all of us really, to have this continuous discussion on the current genocide and also massacre that has been happening. We had our first session last Friday, and I think we were a bit more careful as we were discussing about it openly, but I think with everything that has been going on, we have to really have an honest discussion so that not only do we feel supported by calling a spade. So what it is and what we're looking at right now is the murdering of the Palestinians, and as of this morning, the numbers again increasing, counting. Nearly 5,000 children have been killed since October 7th, and today is exactly a month since the genocide.
Right.
And there are still 1,000 children under the rubbles at this current moment. And obviously, we're looking at the fourth largest military in the world, which has the latest high-tech weapons and calling itself self-defense. This is definitely not what it is. It is a war crime. We're looking at 800,000 children, Arini in Gaza at the moment. So today we're looking at how the world has tilted in support of the Palestinian people. This is 75 years of ongoing trauma sebenarnya, and this is also the importance of the discussion today. So we want to open this discussion, we want to talk more about the psychological impact on Arini.
Yes, and the impact is not just for them, but also us actually, because I think you guys also feel this, that we are being away from them.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point we feel helpless because we cannot really do much. Though maybe we can still do something. As I think Ustaz already discussed during the first talk about Palestine, but still, I think we understand that feeling of being hopeless, and it affects our mental health too.
Definitely. So really not just the Palestinians being there, being displaced, watching or witnessing a lot of these murdering and being bombs dropped. Berapa banyak 18,000 tons of bombs being dropped in Gaza, and bombing schools, bombing refugee camps, semua dah tak ada. Hospitals, definitely. This is what we're seeing. So really, children witnessing all of this with all these uncertainties, it's very difficult for children. But even then, children kita nampak kan kekuatan semangat tu bagaimana, tetapi terutamanya the adults lah. They know their place already, Jannatul Firdaus, insyaAllah, amin. Tapi kita ni macam mana? Belum tahu lagi.
Okay, so maybe before we go deeply into that topic, maybe we can bring back the discussion of mental health itself.
Betul.
So why do we still need to keep talking about mental health actually? Like MIASA has been doing it for years already, but still up until now we still discuss about the importance of taking care of our mental health. Right? But why is it?
Even when we bring the topic of mental health, this is one of the areas that was silent for a very long time, and because of the pandemic hit, dah cakap pun macam nak basi, tapi of course this is really the reality of it all. Because of the pandemic hit, we are able to normalize this discussion. And now today, people know a mental health struggle is real, a mental health condition is real, and there is no health without mental health as well. So overall well-being ini is inclusive of our mental health, and hence why this discussion is very important today. We're looking at the prevalence of anxiety and depression increased by 25%. Paling tinggi 28%, the lowest 23% due to the pandemic hit. Why? We see people struggling with mental health issues have exacerbated because of loss of jobs, the economic impact during the times of loss of jobs, reduction in income. People were not able to have their livelihood, so they're not able to pay, be it rent, food, school fees, etc. So then borrowing. So where do they go? A lot of people pergi meminjam kepada alung. Ini yang berlaku now. all of this has been really detrimental to one's mental health. And of course, loss of loved ones. If you remember, Arini, during the time, we're not able to be with our loved ones during the time. And then going through this grief, and we're all grieving at this point, sebenarnya. Really what we're witnessing right now with what has been happening in Palestine and all over the world, really. And of course, today, all of us are struggling with some kind of mental health issue. So there is a toll that is taking on all of us. So the mental health toll, the mental health impact, this is why this discussion is very important. Now, when we talk about mental health, Arini, what does mental health mean?
Like you said just now, it's the overall well-being of ourselves.
Betul. So it really how we are able to manage, stress or stressors in our life. How we're able to manage all these pressure, whatever challenges, adversities that we go through, because obviously all of this is constant as long as we live in this dunya. And of course, how we're able to contribute into in society, that is also part of mental health. So our emotional health, psychological health, social health, that is all encompassing when we talk about mental health. So how we act, how we think, how we feel, all of that is mental health.
And also, I think another reason why we need to talk about this again and again, because of the lifestyle.
Definitely.
Yes, because I think like makin sini we see the lifestyles of people changing, and then I'm not saying it's not a good one, but maybe we forgot something that is actually works for us and helps us before, like maybe we do exercise, we socialize, we meet our family, we talk to them, but then after the pandemic something changed that maybe we forget that we've been doing it for many times, and it actually helps. So the lifestyle changes, and it also of course affect our mental health too.
It's actually a very good point, because one of the things that I've always wondered about myself is, I used to exercise regularly before the pandemic, and somehow once the pandemic happened, I feel myself dragging my feet to go back.
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah, to that routine, and I don't really know why, because usually when I exercise, that's how I de-stress myself. I find a lot of good hormones kicking in when I do that, but nowadays, not nowadays, since the pandemic, I just feel like it's becoming really harder to push myself.
Me too. Yeah. The drive needs more.
Yeah. Not really driven. Although we know because of COVID that we need to build our immune system, etc. But somehow that has been compromised. So I think we need to push ourselves a little bit more. Everyone really. Okay. Now, talking about mental health as well. What are the factors that can contribute to mental health conditions? Now, there is also maybe a misconception when we talk about mental health conditions, right? Because when we think about mental health conditions, hopefully today that has shifted, but typically what happens is the average person who maybe, you've never seen a person with a mental health condition, in the sense where you've never interacted with a person and you believe whatever that you've watched in movies or dramas or listen in music videos that you've watched or songs that you've listened to, that because of these misconceptions that you think, oh, a person with a mental health condition is crazy, or if they don't take that medication, they might harm someone or harm themselves in that sense. So we want to be able to have this discussion to correct this misconceptions. Now, if you guys have any questions at all pertaining to mental health or the genocide and massacre that is happening in Palestine, please do drop your questions in the comment section. Okay. So Arini, what contributes to a mental health condition?
Okay. First one, though maybe it's not really appearance, but biological factors matters.
Definitely.
It's not. It doesn't mean that your DNA is predict your mental health condition, but your prevalence to mental health conditions when
It's higher.
When it is the prevalence is higher when your parents, for example, having the conditions.
Right. Genetics matter in that sense.
Yep. And then of course the second one is first the biological factor. The second one is of course the psychological factors.
Definitely. So that's what we're seeing a lot, right? So when we talk about trauma, when we talk about abuse, when we talk about neglect, all these negative experiences, and what it really means is it's not the events per se, but what the events mean to you
Yeah.
So that is that psychological impact. And I think one of the things that people don't realize as well is trauma is something that can be passed down. Trauma is something that can be inherited as well, like how you can also...
Generational trauma. So, yeah.
Definitely. So this is why this discussion is also important. So if you yourself have experienced trauma, what do we do with the trauma, right? Do we talk about it? Do we get treatment? What happens? So this is also an important part of the discussion. And of course, social determinants, right? So this is, I feel, 7 years doing this work, that social determinants of health and mental health is very much lacking in our discussion, right? And that's why people are continuously being left behind, right? For this very reason. We still see people that are marginalized and vulnerable become more marginalized and vulnerable. We see, as an example, we do a lot of outreach programs, how people, homeless folks as an example, Arini, they are forgotten, right? And that's why I always say there's nothing worse than a person homeless on the streets with a mental health condition, because this is when you become invisible, right? So we want to talk about social determinants of health and also mental health. So what are these social determinants, Arini?
So social determinants like economic factors too.
Could be job opportunities.
Job opportunities, like for example, homeless, right? Everyone is prevalent for mental health conditions, but the thing is they cannot afford for the mental health treatment, for example. So that is why they are more prevalent to the mental health conditions. Also, that is why it becomes the big factors.
Definitely. So we're talking about inaccessibility when we talk about services or support services. So that's healthcare. We're talking about employment. We touched on that. Transportation, housing, what does that look like? Social systems, right? So we need fairer social systems. What about accessibility to education? So there are a lot of things that are not available for these groups of people, betul? Especially persons with disabilities. What about people with chronic conditions, right? What about refugees in Malaysia at this current moment? We've got 4,000 plus Palestinians in Malaysia that are not able to go to school because of this. So these are some of the things that we need to think about, reconsider our position, guys, on these issues as well.
And I think we're talking about this not to say that, they're having that and that, so that's why they're having mental health condition, no. But to be the wake up call for us, it is actually our collective responsibility.
Definitely, because it's not merely a healthcare issue, it is a social justice issue, right? And we're talking about human rights, and I'm sure in today's discussion, human rights is something that we all understand, hopefully better today. So we must provide everyone that opportunity. Not actually opportunity, let me just rephrase that, but the right? The right to health, the right to education, the right to accessing every single service and support like every single person, because until we are able to do that, then not everyone's recovery journey is going to be effective, and that's the truth, right? And of course, traumatic events and stress as well, Arini. Acute chronic stress.
Yes, so anything that we're exposed to, any traumatic events, of course, for example, the thing that we're currently facing today, or even not just that, like what Anita mentioned just now, it's not about the event itself, but about how we perceive the event. So that's why it creates traumatic feelings for us. That is why it traumatized, so that's why it affects our mental health condition.
Exactly. Like when we talk about being in war-torn countries, definitely, right? They are more susceptible. But even if if you're part of the military and you go for peace missions, as an example, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be engaged in combat for you to be susceptible to it. But just witnessing what is currently happening, witnessing your friends die as an example, that in itself can take a huge toll on you, and it can affect your psychological and emotional health all in all. So this is the importance of having this knowledge, so that if we see these signs, if we see these things happening to us, then we can do something about it. We can provide intervention, we can seek help for our mental health. Okay, so next, referring to what is currently happening in the world, how does being or becoming a victim in a war-torn country contribute to our mental health? Again, if you guys have any questions or comments, please insert that in our comment section, and we will hopefully address that in our session. Are there any questions at the moment?
Yep, we have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, How can we collectively raise awareness and provide support for the mental health needs of those affected by the ongoing conflict in Palestine?
Okay, so the question is, how can we collectively support or create awareness on mental health
Yep.
within Gaza, or
Yes, Gaza.
collectively within
Yep.
the Gaza? Okay, so as we mentioned, Arini, so being in war-torn countries, so in this current 75 years of Israeli occupation or the Zionist regime, their agenda of eliminating Palestinians. We want to talk about the mental health toll or impact, and how do we create this awareness, Arini?
First of all, of course, we understand about mental health itself, and then we take how to say, I mean,
Seek knowledge, right?
Yeah. We understand the awareness, the literacy, of course, that is very important. And then, for me myself, we take good care of our own first, and then we can contribute to the work. Okay, let's say to the Palestinians, because the thing that is currently happening to them is like already huge, like so big. Like I think I read somewhere that even though in DSM it states PTSD, but the post
There's no
post in for
Ongoing
Palestinians
trauma.
because the traumatic events that can still be happening the next day and after the next day, so no pause. So that's why first, I think for me, we need to take care of ourselves first. We need to educate ourselves first, and then our surroundings, and then we can do our best to contribute to the community, to the ummah. Okay, let's say for me myself, I'm a training counselor. So maybe as a student, for example, we can learn better about them,
Yep.
and then we can learn better about how to provide treatment, for example, how to provide a therapy, or how to help them. So, but the thing is, maybe like for us Malaysian, so as for the Palestine is like so far away from us, right? But that doesn't mean we cannot give a direct help. But as long as we can contribute, so it doesn't has to be always a direct one, but as long as we do our best in whatever that we do, so hopefully it can contribute to them too, inshallah.
Right, inshallah. Thank you very much, Arini. So I think one of the things that we can all do collectively, guys, is there are two things that we have. One is our voice. So as long as this voice is a privilege that we have, is to use your voice to tell the truth, is to seek that knowledge, and with that voice to provide awareness, so that people that are struggling can reach out for the help. People that are struggling can get the intervention before their mental health challenges develop into a mental health condition. So I think these are one of the things that we can do. And here in Malaysia, of course, Arini, there's so many outlets. We've got rallies ongoing, we've got convoys ongoing, we've got so many kita panggil knowledge sessions that are ongoing across the nation as well, that you guys can be involved in. But really in your own capacities as well, you can keep sharing the truth about what is happening in Gaza at the moment, about the Palestinian, about the history, and learn about it. And I think one of the hikmahs, again, Arini, that what we've seen right now is people are learning about Islam. People are learning and opening the Quran. And I mentioned this last Friday when 9/11 happened. When US invaded Iraq, I was in US during the time I was studying, and then I was working 7 years in the US, looking and experiencing and witnessing how the average people are different from the leaders. So I hope we understand this as well, okay?
And it's not that we don't have power. We
Exactly.
do have power. We can do something.
Right, but it must be done collectively, and it's amazing to see that now with this genocide that is happening, the world is coming together. We have a united voice, and we hope the leaders will soon follow suit. So keep the du'as going. The help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is definitely near, and of course the victory of the Palestinians are also very near, inshallah.
And I think I just realized this, that the awareness on mental health for the people that is facing or experiencing conflict is also increasing. Like we are talking about that right now. Maybe before this we kind of forgot in how to talk about mental health for those people who are experiencing conflict. It's not that there are no other conflict before this, so the awareness is also increasing, alhamdulillah, right now.
And hopefully more help for these war-torn countries, people in the refugee camps, people that are struggling around the world that we have maybe not supported much, that we now maybe can think of ways to be able to do that better, can Arini? Because again, we don't want to pass down all this trauma and mental health challenges, because again, it's also inherited in that sense, the susceptibility to it at least. And I always say this, I hope the buck stops here. This is 2023. We have all the information we want. If we want to seek the truth, there are many ways to find it. And first and foremost, the information and the truth is in the Quran. So let's go ahead and seek that knowledge as much as possible. Okay, now the next question is, what are the psychological effects on Palestinian victims of this genocide, especially children? So we've seen a lot of children being in tremors, being living in a lot of fear at this current moment, and they've lost family members. They're witnessing all this genocide happening. They're not understanding. People are bombing, especially schools, mosques, hospital, churches. All these things that we thought were safe places.
I think we in social media alone we came across a lot of videos where when the bombing happened and then the babies it's the babies experiencing heart attack. It's very heartbreaking because they don't supposed to have that. I mean, heart attack is something serious in mental health condition, so when it happens to them, even though we know Palestinians are very resilient and very strong, but still it
We're all
will
humans.
affect,
We're humans
it
at
will
the end of
affect
the
their
day.
mental health conditions, and we don't know what will happen for them after that, like when they're growing up, how it affects them
Definitely.
mentally.
Yeah, and we see a lot of kids getting panic attacks as well, and of course adults, and falling into anxiety and depression. So not just PTSD alone, people getting hallucinations as well. But of course, the majority, more than half, are PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Although we got to eliminate the word post because obviously it's still ongoing. Now, when we look at the survivors, right? Well, until this point, right, 6th of November, we're looking at survivors of the Palestinian genocide right now, still ongoing, demonstrating resilience in coping with severe trauma and everything else that they're going through, and especially Arini, being cut off from basic necessities. Can you imagine not having food, not having water, not having electricity, being kicked out from your homes, no homes, and living in terror every single day? This is something that we can't comprehend at all.
At all.
Let me tell you, just me, myself, living in Malaysia, peaceful country, struggling with a mental health condition is very difficult. So imagine when we're talking about being in such a situation right now, Arini. So where do these Palestinians, where do they get this strength, Arini? It's a good discussion.
Yep. Yes, like you said, their resiliency and also their steadfastness, I think it's very admirable. And actually, this is a very good source from Marston, from Dr. Arini Awad. So they did a research on Palestinian, on their resiliency, and then one of it is actually due to the amanah that they need to protect Al-Aqsa. Oh, I got goosebumps saying this, but yes, so being steadfast on the deen and also holding on to the Islam and also holding on to the amanah that Allah give to them affect a lot on their
faith,
faith, yes.
So unwavering faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, and like you said, the amanah of protecting Al-Aqsa. And also this is deeply rooted in profound understanding of tawakkul sebenarnya. To know that this is dunya, they know their place again, kan? So they understand this, and this is what they are embodying. They are inspiring us. I think all of us, not just we see the non-Muslims, but the Muslims as a whole, kan, collectively. And so the steadfastness has been, a principle that the Palestinians have been embodied, have embodied throughout these 75 years of oppression and Israeli occupation that is currently happening or continuously happening.
Yeah, and also I think this, when we talk about stigma on mental health, sometimes we talk about maybe it because they don't pray, for example, or they don't do something that relates to ibadah.
Good point. I like that. Yes.
But then this
is proof, man.
Yeah,
this is
proof that actually faith, of course, contributes to our mental health condition. But then it's not just doing the prayer after prayer, but also the faith itself, and like how rooted the faith, and also how rooted your belief in Allah's qadar, and how tawakkal are you. So it's a whole big things and it's not just something that we can do or we can see from the surface. So it's very rooted.
Yeah. And also to really understand that even if you have that unwavering faith, you can also get a mental health condition.
Yes.
So I hope this also answers that many misconceptions that people living with a mental health condition is because you lack the faith, or you're far from God, or you have a lot of sins, etc., so on and so forth. So I hope that clears it out. Although again, being 2023, I can't believe we're still having this conversation. But of course, this is what advocacy is all about, continuously providing that education, psychoeducation to all of you out there, because Arini, not everyone gets the information or receives this information, especially maybe in the rural areas ataupun urban poor areas, or people that don't have phones or accessibility to information, or even services to really understand that, if I have a mental health condition, I can actually seek for help, and help is readily available in the community as well. So you can get help. Let's just talk about that a little bit. So those of you in Malaysia right now, if you are struggling with a mental health challenge, issue, mental health condition, you can actually walk into a health clinic. Okay, there are 1,100 health clinics across Malaysia. Klinik desa pun ada. So what you do is, guys, once you walk into this health clinic, I know that when you come in, you're confused. You don't really know how to speak to the doctor or ask questions. And what you say is, I think I have a mental health challenge. I would like to do a mental health screening. Okay, saya nak buat ujian saringan kesihatan mental. So this is what you say to the healthcare worker and to the doctor ataupun the nurse or FMS who is at the health clinic. Sebab sometimes, not sometimes, the majority of them, especially the family medicine specialists within health clinics, they are not trained in mental health, although they are doctors. Tapi they're not trained in mental health, so sometimes they might not catch that you indeed are going through a mental struggle. So verbalize that, okay? Tell them that, look, just don't come in and say I don't feel really well, then they give you a Panadol. Okay, so tell them that you don't feel emotionally well, or you've got challenges within your mental struggles, these kind of things. So if you're able to articulate that right, then that way you can get that intervention. Because through research, what we've seen is 49%, which is nearly half of the Malaysian population, actually see a GP ataupun a doctor at a health clinic when they are going through a mental health struggle. So that is your first point of contact. It's not the psychiatrist, it's not the psychologist. And again, there are many mental health NGOs on the ground in the community today to provide you help, ready to provide help for you, and of course, helplines as well. Macam MIASA, contohnya, we've got our 24/7 crisis helpline, 1-800-1-800-66. So 1-800 twice, 66, that is our crisis helpline number. There is also a helpline number from the Ministry of Health, which is 1-5555. So 5555 twice, and then we've got Talian Kasih, which is 15999, and we also have Befrienders, which is a 24/7 suicide hotline. So if you're going through suicidal ideation, or you're planning, or you are at risk of suicide, please do reach out to all these helplines. And of course, there are more numbers available. I haven't memorized them, but you can also Google them out, inshallah.
Alright, so we go to the last question.
Boleh?
Okay. So what we can do, for example, like us here, we are experiencing maybe a sense of helplessness and also being anxious or depressed or distressed about the issue that's currently happening. So let's say we also have friends that is also experiencing the same thing. How do we help them?
I think what is important right now is to have the discussion.
Yes,
right? Have the discussion openly. It's okay. It's not okay to be sad. It is normal to be sad with everything that you are watching, witnessing via social media, all these videos.
Very, very normal.
It's normal. I mean, it would be a problem if you don't feel sad, you know what I mean? So it's normal to feel sad, it's normal to feel disturbed because it is a genocide, you know, it is atrocities that we're seeing. It's a lot of, it is beyond human cruelty. I still can't find the correct vocabulary to describe it, but that is really what it is. It's beyond, I have no words to describe it, but it is plainly, that is what it is, okay? It's genocide, it's ethnic cleansing, it's massacre, it's murder. I don't know how else you can say it's not, because that is clearly what it is. There's so many, you know, videos right now. That's thank God to social media. So one of the benefits of social media, of course, but really coming from that place of empathy and compassion, holding that space. And if you need further help, please do seek professional help, because again, we want to get intervention early and before it develops into a mental health condition as much as possible. But again, even if you live with a mental health condition, it's not a death sentence, okay? Janji Allah itu pasti. Semua penyakit ada ubat kecuali mati, okay? So ikhtiar itu penting, usaha itu penting. So what we do is we try to seek help and support, and what is important is that holistic approach to that recovery process. So that is important. So not just limited to clinical help, but really finding things that are helpful to you. And everyone is different, guys, right? So that's why at MIASA, we provide various support services, so that, you know, there's lots of things on the menu, so that when you come here, at least you don't go home empty-handed. Hopefully there's always something that you find useful that can help you to de-stress, that can help your mental health, can support your mental health journey to effective recovery, inshallah.
Yep. I like the point when you mentioned about discuss that, because maybe all of us all of us are feeling sad right now, angry, and then sometimes we're just crying. But that we do that by our own. So maybe when we come out, we tell our friends, for example, oh, I'm very sad because when I see the news. So at least we can share that feelings.
Yes.
So and of course, to be that friend, we have to be non-judgmental, and then listen. Active listening, and also be there, just be there to listen. And then I think everyone can relate and can connect to this a lot right now. It's just that we don't come out and discuss that among us.
Yep.
That when we are sad, maybe we discuss it like this, but when we are very emotional, when watching the videos, for example, and watching the news, we don't really come out. So I think one of the way is that we can do after this is just be the support to each other, make your group support.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, thank you very much, Arini. One of the things that I just wanted to add on, echoing what you just said, is last week I was at Dr. Rania's session together with there was KJ, Miss Nina, and you know, there was a panel discussion as well. And one of the things that KJ said, so quoting from KJ, he was saying, we not only want to be the child of our father, we also want to be the child of our mother. So we want to be able to talk about feelings, guys, okay? And I know for the guys, it's very difficult. How are you? I'm fine. That's it. End of conversation. But, you know, again, it's 2023. You know, we see the prevalence in mental health. There's nothing to be ashamed if you're going through a mental health condition. Again, everyone is susceptible, male, female. Whatever your social status strata might be, you know, where you come from, kind of religion, race, skin color, etc., you are susceptible to a mental health condition, especially because we are also an aging population. Now, adding to that, if you are currently supporting someone that is struggling, I need to also say this, where please acknowledge when you're supporting the person that sometimes it's not the person speaking, but maybe it's the depression speaking, maybe it's the anxiety speaking, maybe it's the bipolar disorder speaking, maybe it's the hallucination speaking, maybe it's the psychosis, which is the hallucination delusions speaking, maybe it's the schizophrenia disorder speaking, maybe it's the borderline personality speaking, maybe it's the addiction speaking. Now, when we are able to acknowledge that it is separate from the person, I feel that we will be able to support the person better as well.
Yes.
And one of the things that, when Dr. Rania mentioned this, I realized how I don't like the word trigger is also how I don't like the word boundary, right? But in today, I think in the past, I don't know, couple of years, we've been talking, since the pandemic, we've been talking a lot about keeping a healthy boundary, knowing our boundaries, and boundaries has never been something that I have a really a clear or healthy line. But one of the things that people talk a lot about is boundaries. So boundaries is also another thing. And I think when we talk about boundaries, maybe we can position it this way, where take care of yourself so that you are able to take better care of the person that you are supporting. So I support boundary in that sense. Now the third one is, which I also learned during Dr. Ranya's session, and I really like it a lot, is this. A lot of people come to us all the time, especially come to me after sessions and tell me this. Puan Anita, but my friend doesn't want to seek help. My sister doesn't want to seek help. My loved one, my husband or wife, she or he doesn't want to seek help. They're in denial. Now, one of the things is, it's not easy to accept that you have a mental health condition because of the stigma, because of the negative perception of society. So that in itself is a process. But one of the other things that I've learned is, if your loved ones don't want to seek help, you know what you do? You seek help. You know why? Because when you seek help, then you will be able to learn how to carry the person. You will be able to learn how to effectively support the person, and ultimately, you know what will happen? That person will be inspired to seek help because of you. SubhanAllah. So this is, some of the things that I hope you take away from today's discussion when we talk about mental health and how important it is for our overall mental well-being, inshallah. Now, questions. Aisha, silakan.
Yep. So, how can we make informed, peaceful choices when it comes to boycotting organizations involved in harm, while respecting diverse perspective and ensuring we take care of our mental well-being throughout the process?
Yeah, this is a very important question. So how do we make informed decision when we are boycotting products, especially when we know there's a lot of global chains today that are in support of the Zionist regime, or some global chains. As an example, you have a chain here in Malaysia, which you have to provide a little bit of royalty to the HQ, right? Where they contribute to the Zionist regime. So how do you make that informed decision? Now, this is one of the things that we have discussed in Friday's session, where what Ustaz has clearly said, that we can't fight injustice with injustice. In Islam, we talk a lot about being just. Now, when we are boycotting, does it harm our people more than them? Okay. Now, when we make these decisions of boycotting, let's be clear. If we are entirely sure that this particular company 100% contributes to the Zionist regime, then what we do is we focus on this particular company until they fall, right? So this is what we do, because we can't just boycott everything and then it doesn't really create an impact, right, to these particular companies. So when we want to do something, we do it big and we do it huge, right? So I think that's a little bit on the perspective that I have and what Ustaz shared.
I think I like the word informed. So we are also being conscious on what we are doing, not just following the mass, they're boycotting this company and then we also boycott. I think looking for the facts and the true information also matters. Like Puan said just now, if we are really sure, we finally really sure that this company is supporting, then we go, all of us go boycott that company. So at least the impact is there, compared to just boycotting so many companies, but we cannot really see the significant impact, right?
Betul. Because again, guys, we need to understand, right? We are not against the existence of Jewish people, right? We are against what is currently happening, right? the formation of an Israeli state, the genocide that is happening, the occupation, the murder, the ethnic cleansing, the massacre, the bombings. This is what we are against. And so, the Palestinians are, of course, the indigenous people. They are the ones that have been there from the very beginning. And imagine somebody taking over your home and cutting off everything, and wouldn't you go through a resistance? And so this is really what the truth is. And I hope we continue to seek knowledge, continue to have these conversations, so that we ourselves feel supported and at least don't feel helpless. But again, you can continue to donate, provide awareness, share information on your social media, continue providing that strongest weapon that we have, which is our du'as. So continue keeping that du'a going, inshallah. Any last words, Arini, before we end?
Yesterday, again, like we've discussed just now, the emotional turbulence are still there.
Yep.
Whenever we see the news, and then I reflect on that, and what I finally decided on myself is, whenever I feel sad, whenever I feel angry, use that as a fuel for myself to
Fuel, yeah.
yes, to do something that is better and better, to make myself still doing the better things. Even like I said just now, even though the effect is not direct, but inshallah by that, when we become a more better Muslim, it indirectly affects on the ummah, and also of course the outside the Palestinian.
Right.
So let's say we feel very angry, right? We feel very angry when we see the video of the Zionists doing this and this, and turn that anger into ourselves. So do something that is maybe we never did before. So we can improve ourselves more.
Yep.
Maybe in terms of ibadah, maybe in terms of seeking knowledge, maybe in terms of I don't know, doing donations.
Yep.
So yeah, prayer of course is very, very important. And then sharing the informations, voice out is also very important.
Definitely.
But just how to turn that emotional turbulence into something positive is like that.
Yep. Right.
So-
I really like that, and using anger as a fuel, because that's exactly what happened. What happened as well during my recovery journey, because at the end what happened was the anger kicked in. So anger is also a positive emotion, right? So with that anger, it was a fuel or a force to enable that recovery process to happen. So ultimately, then the willpower came in, and then the grit happened, etc. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I think that's all the time that we have for today's MIASATalks. I think we exceeded by about 10 minutes. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and those of you that will watch it, will watch the recorded video as much as possible. I hope you can share it across, so that people feel supported in having these conversations, and also to understand the impact of trauma, and also the impact of mental health, not just individuals or people within war-torn countries, but also individuals, really all across the globe that do go through
everyone.
Various mental health challenges. And then to the Palestine people, if somehow this video reaches you, we just want to tell you, on behalf of all of us, we are all watching, we are all praying for you, we are all rooting for you, and we are here. And I'm really sorry that this is as much as we can do, but really we are trying our best, and you guys inspire us and tremendously, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide you victory as soon as possible, inshallah. So thank you very much, everyone. Please take care of each other, and please take care of your mental health. So I end this with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.